Good morning. Here's what you missed in the last 15 hours. You had 13 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from AI agents running autonomous research loops to MacBook clustering experiments, plus the usual mix of tech launches, car dealership psychology, and some personal updates from your favorite creators. The big story today was Nate Jones breaking down what he calls the Karpathy loop, and this one's genuinely important. Andre Karpathy released a 630-line Python script that let an AI agent optimize his training code while he slept, running 700 experiments and finding 20 improvements, including an 11% speed boost. The agent even found a bug in Karpathy's attention implementation that the renowned researcher had missed. But here's what made Nate genuinely excited. This isn't about the agent being smarter, it's about iteration rate. The thing ran 12 experiments per hour, about 100 overnight, while a productive human researcher might manage 8-10 cycles in a working day. When Shopify's CEO tried the same pattern, he got a 19% performance gain from 37 experiments in 8 hours. Sky Pilot scaled it to 16 GPUs and ran 910 experiments in 8 hours for under $300. The real escalation came when Kevin Gu took this same loop and applied it to optimize AI agent behavior itself, not just training code, but system prompts, tool definitions, routing logic. His auto agent claimed 96.5% on Spreadsheet Bench and 55.1% on Terminal Bench, both first place, though Nate transparently noted these scores hadn't appeared on official leaderboards yet. What's emerging is what Nate calls local hard takeoffs, not the AI safety term, but what happens when optimization loops close on specific business systems and compound improvements faster than organizations can track. Pricing engines rewriting their own heuristics for 30% gains, fraud detection discovering new patterns. The catch? Most organizations will fail spectacularly because they're trying to skip the prerequisites. You can't automate what you can't score, and building proper evaluation infrastructure is harder than most teams realize. Speaking of AI breakthroughs, Alex Ziskind was having his own moment with something completely different, but equally fascinating. He clustered 3 M5 Max MacBook Pros to run AI models that couldn't fit on a single machine. We're talking 397 billion parameter models running at 28 tokens per second. His setup was beautifully simple. 3 M5 Max MacBooks with 128 GB each, connected via Thunderbolt 5 cables in a mesh, running MLX distributed inference. The breakthrough moment came when he tried an 8-bit quantized model that barely fit on one 128 GB machine. Except it actually failed to load entirely on a single node. 2 nodes ran it at 51 tokens per second, demonstrating the cluster's ability to enable models that simply cannot run on individual machines. He pushed even further with a 185 GB model that definitely exceeded single machine capacity, getting 29 tokens per second across 2 nodes, legitimately usable for real coding work. The technical limitation was interesting. Tensor parallelism requires layer dimensions to be evenly divisible by the number of nodes, and all popular models use power of 2 dimensions that divide by 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, but not by 3. So despite having 3 machines, the sweet spot was actually 2 for tensor parallelism. For 3-node operation, he switched to pipeline parallelism using EXO, which let him run a 397 billion parameter model across 384 GB total memory, though he was clearly frustrated with EXO's quirks, especially its tendency to redownload models already on disk. On the AI application front, there were 2 major releases yesterday that the AI Daily Brief host was genuinely excited about. OpenAI updated Codex with computer use capabilities on Mac. The AI can now see, click, and type across any app with its own cursor, with multiple agents working in parallel without interfering with user activity. But the host was particularly animated about something called the monothread concept. Instead of starting fresh conversations for every task, the new approach involves keeping threads alive around recurring work streams, enabled by Codex's improved context compaction. Jason Liu from OpenAI created a recipe for a personal chief of staff that runs every 15 minutes, checking Slack, Gmail, Calendar, and GitHub, filtering noise into actionable signal. The philosophical difference with Claude is interesting. Claude toggles between different experiences like chat, co-work, and code, while Codex maintains one unified interface, betting that the agent is smart enough that the interface should disappear. Meanwhile, Anthropic dropped Claude Opus 4.7, which the host described as literally one step better than 4.6 in every dimension. Finance Agent jumped from 60.1% to 64.4%, Office QA Pro from 57.1% to 80.6%, OS World Computer Use from 72.7% to 78%. The model made about 20% more money on benchmark tests. The key guidance from Anthropic was to delegate rather than micromanage, treat it like a capable engineer rather than a pair programmer, and build in verification loops since 4.7 is better at self-verification than previous models. Moving to a more philosophical perspective on AI, Peter Steinberger gave a fascinating TED Talk about creating OpenClaw, the AI agent that became the fastest-growing open-source project. Steinberger was clearly passionate, but also slightly manic about his creation. He described how after selling his company, he fell into a 3-year depression that therapy, travel, and moving countries couldn't fix. Early 2025, AI experiments brought back the video game feeling of programming. The breakthrough came when he took his WhatsApp bot to Marrakesh and sent it a voice message he'd never built voice functionality for. The agent figured everything out independently, inspected the file, found it was audio in a weird format, converted it, looked for translation software, discovered an OpenAI key, sent everything to the server, and replied all in 9 seconds. His stupid decision was putting the agent in a public Discord. He watched all night as people talked with it, then went to bed forgetting he'd built resilience into the system. The agent rebooted itself and continued talking to everyone worldwide. Jensen Huang called it the operating system for personal AI. At ClawCon Vienna, he met a 60-year-old beer sommelier named Gerhardt who'd never coded but used OpenClaw to manage a complete 90-minute brewing process. When they wondered what to do with all the beer, the agent suggested building a website. Now they have a real business. In China, installing OpenClaw is called raising lobsters. The interviewer was genuinely concerned about safety, calling Steinberger potentially the character who opens Pandora's box in a Hollywood movie, but Steinberger defended it as providing a window to the future. Taking a much more skeptical stance on the AI space, Coding Jesus was deeply frustrated with the disconnect between hype and reality. He challenged viewers to find any completely AI app generating significant revenue that hasn't been exposed as fraudulent. He cited CoffeeZilla's recent video about Medv, a telemarketing health company that used AI-generated testimonials, deepfake doctors, and fraudulent reviews to sell GLP-1 drugs. His personal experience with Claude Code was telling. He asked it to format text as Python code blocks, and instead of creating one reusable function, the AI generated the same function 4 times, performing worse than an intern. But his most detailed critique focused on pricing, which he called intentionally predatory. He argued that $20 monthly subscriptions are artificially cheap given the massive resource consumption, citing Microsoft filings showing OpenAI lost $12 billion in 1 quarter and needs to burn through $140 billion before profitability. He referenced Sora's shutdown due to losing $15 million daily. His prediction was stark: companies are deliberately underpricing to get users hooked, planning massive price increases once they've convinced organizations that $20 can replace software engineers. He warned of escalating from current prices to $200 monthly premiums, then $1,000 monthly subscriptions, with corporate AI bills jumping from $100,000 to millions monthly. His advice was blunt: maintain loyalty to human developers rather than trying to replace them with AI. Because when the bubble pops and prices skyrocket, surviving developers will remember which companies tried to replace them. Shifting to hardware news, Max Tech was genuinely excited about what he sees as imminent M5 series releases from Apple. The signal is unprecedented. Apple has made certain Mac configurations unavailable for purchase, with Mac Studio models over 96 GB showing as grayed out, and the M4 Pro Mac Mini with 64 GB unable to be ordered. His excitement was particularly high when discussing performance benchmarks, claiming the M5 Max beat the RTX 5090 in certain tests. "I can't believe the M5 Max actually won in a complex swamp render test. The M5 Pro Mac Mini is achieving record-breaking single-core performance, with even the base 15-core version scoring as high as the previous M4 Max. Graphics performance sees a 23% improvement while maintaining the same 20-core GPU. For the Mac Studio, he's predicting M5 Ultra single-core scores around 4,400 points and multi-core approaching 35,000, attributing this to Apple eliminating efficiency cores in favor of supercores and new mid-performance cores. The AI performance discussion was particularly interesting. M5 series chips include dedicated MLX AI accelerators, and he cited Max Weinbach claiming companies are now building AI software for Mac first, with recent examples including the Gemini app and Codex storage performance gets over 16,000 read-write speeds thanks to PCIe 5 implementation. For pricing, he expects modest increases of about $200 tied to storage upgrades, with the base Mac Mini starting at 512 GB instead of 256 GB. On the creative side, Linus was genuinely excited and playful throughout his Red Bull sponsorship video, though as he clarified with mock seriousness, he's building PCs for Red Bull athletes rather than doing stunts. The team built 2 elaborate custom gaming PCs, one soccer-themed for Alphonso Davies and another Among Us themed for Disguised Toast. Linus got particularly enthusiastic about the custom animations Robert created, praising them as potentially copyright infringing due to their quality. Both builds featured high-end specs: AMD Ryzen 7 9800X 3D CPUs, 64 GB of G-Skill RAM at 6000 MTS, Samsung 990 Pro 4 TB storage, and Asus ROG Astral RTX 5090s with 32 GB VRAM. The soccer build used a Height Y70 case with 3-sided panoramic glass, modified with a miniature soccer field complete with player figures, and a Lee & Lee 8.8-inch screen serving as an animated scoreboard. Disguised Toast's build featured a thermal take case in butter caramel, yellow with hidden Among Us figures throughout, and miniature Red Bull cans purchased from a dollhouse company for $3 each. When testing performance, they achieved over 240 FPS in Among Us with only 3% GPU usage, and in FIFA, Linus struggled with controls but celebrated when Davies scored a goal in the game. The unified memory advantage was clear. While laptop RTX 5090s are limited to 24 GB VRAM and desktop versions to 32 GB, the M5 Max can access up to 128 GB of unified memory. Moving to indie game development, Romy from Poki was knowledgeable and measured when explaining why indie developers should consider web gaming. Poki serves 90 million monthly players with 100 billion game plays per month, making it the market leader in web gaming. She attributed recent growth to changing audience expectations, particularly among Generation Alpha users who are accustomed to instant content consumption and don't want to download apps or invest time before trying games. The critical success factor is keeping games under 20 megabytes. Anything larger struggles, because web players have extremely low patience, leaving if games don't load within 20 seconds. Revenue ranges for first games typically run $500 $3,000 monthly, potentially up to $10,000 or even $100,000 for hits, but she advised planning for lower estimates. The business model is more like traditional publishing developers release 3-5 games yearly, expecting some to break even and one profitable enough to support the rest. With 30 games, developers can realistically make a living. The platform focuses on instant casual games between hyper-casual and casual, targeting demographics that skew toward Generation Alpha but serving broader audiences. Session length averages 30 minutes with players trying 3-4 different games, meaning individual games get 6-10 minutes of playtime with optimal game loops of 2-3 minutes. At a developer conference, Armin, Ronacher, and Cristina from Earendil presented thoughtful insights about AI coding tools that went against the grain of typical AI enthusiasm. They argued that while AI provides massive productivity gains, engineers need to deliberately add friction back into development processes. Ronacher, the creator of Flask, was genuinely concerned about psychological aspects. He's observed AI tools initially felt fun and provided extra time. But once ubiquitous, the baseline shifted to pressure for shipping faster and producing more code. The trap is that fast output tricks engineers into thinking they're more efficient when actually they have less time for proper design thinking. From a team scaling perspective, AI fundamentally changes composition. Every engineer has vastly more producing power than reviewing power, creating pull request pileups. Even more concerning, non-engineers are now shipping code, while responsibility still rests with engineering teams. Their solution involves treating codebases as infrastructure designed to be agent-legible through modularization, following known patterns, keeping simple cores, and avoiding hidden magic. They implement mechanical enforcement through linting rules like no bear catch blocks, SQL in one interface, unique function names for better token efficiency. They built a custom tool separating mechanical bugs that can go back to agents automatically from changes requiring human judgment like database migrations and permission changes. On a completely different note, CarEdge provided genuinely helpful education about dealership tactics through father-son roleplay. Ray, with 43 years of car sales experience, and his son Zach demonstrated common finance office tricks with theatrical energy. The key insight was about rate markup. Dealers can mark up approved loan rates and keep 70% of the additional interest. In their demo, a bank approved 5.9%, but the dealer presented 7.9%, a 2% markup that could cost thousands over the loan term. The protection is getting pre-approved financing before visiting dealerships. Their second demonstration focused on add-on packages presented as only $4 a day, rather than the actual $7,500 cost, which becomes over $9,300 with interest over 72 months. The hosts emphasized that breaking costs down to daily amounts obscures true expense, and everything is negotiable since these finance and insurance products are huge profit centers. They stressed pushing finance managers to reveal actual costs of all products and cross-shopping these items with multiple dealerships, noting most people don't realize this is possible. The Ionic guy was enthusiastic about BetterBlue, a third-party iOS app providing a superior alternative to Hyundai's official MyHyundai app. Created by developer Mark Schmidt using Hyundai's API, the app offers widgets, live activities, and Apple Watch integration that the official app lacks. He was particularly animated when demonstrating live activities and widget features, clearly impressed by functionality that should have been in the official app years ago. The app is only available through test flight since Apple rejected it from the App Store, claiming the developer needed Hyundai's permission. Key features include instant refresh, detailed vehicle information including 12-volt battery status and tire pressure, climate control with custom presets, home screen widgets with quick toggles, lock screen persistence, and dynamic island integration during charging. The Apple Watch app displays battery status, range, door locks, and climate with swipe navigation between vehicles. However, BetterBlue can't access surround view cameras, horn lights, valet mode, charging scheduling, or battery preconditioning, requiring users to keep the official app for these features. Brian Lunjuk was genuinely amused by a Telegraph headline warning that Chinese hackers could exploit internet-connected NHS refrigerators, storing vaccines and medical supplies. While clearly entertained by the absurdity, he acknowledged legitimate security concerns about IoT devices in critical infrastructure. He shared a lengthy personal story about receiving an internet-connected crockpot that ran Linux with SSH access, which he successfully bricked to eliminate smart features while keeping basic functionality. His broader point was that while most IoT devices are easy to hack and receive security patches for only 1-2 years, they historically represented low-value targets with little financial incentive for hackers. The game changer is deploying these vulnerable devices in high-value environments like hospitals, transforming them from curiosities into potential weapons for holding organizations hostage, sabotaging vaccine production, corrupting blood storage, or falsifying medical records. His recommendation was simple: convert smart medical fridges back to dumb fridges and reinstitute manual inspection procedures to eliminate attack vectors entirely. Finally, Random Frank P was notably relaxed and reflective in a casual update about his reduced posting schedule. He and his wife welcomed their third child, a baby girl, in February, joining their 4-year-old and 2-year-old boys. The first few months with a newborn plus terrible twos have been exhausting, with long days covered in snots, spit-ups, mucus, and being tired by 8 p.m. Beyond family life, he discussed the struggling tech YouTube landscape, noting that YouTube's algorithm changes particularly hurt established creators. Despite having over 2 million subscribers, only 8% of his views come from subscribers, since the subscription feed is essentially hidden. YouTube heavily favors recent watch history, and having millions of subscribers actually works against him. If a video only gets 15,000 views initially, YouTube buries it, while small channels with 12,000 subscribers are getting 200,000 views after switching to tech content. He's considering a new studio space to escape household distractions, particularly his 2-year-old who has the heaviest feet in the world. Interestingly, Whatnot sponsorships now make him more money than YouTube ad revenue, describing it as eBay in live format, where he auctions tech items, often selling $100 mice for $36. After almost 10 years on YouTube, he's reflective about timing. If he could start over, it would be now, when the algorithm favors new creators. That's your complete rundown from the last 15 hours. The AI space is moving incredibly fast with autonomous research loops and agent breakthroughs, while hardware continues pushing boundaries with clustering experiments and upcoming Apple Silicon. Meanwhile, the human side of tech, from family life to fraud concerns to dealership tactics, reminds us there's still plenty of real-world complexity that no algorithm has quite figured out yet.